Hey, hey, hi Violet, that's Violet.
You're not finished, okay?
Okay, shh, I'm vlogging. I'm a vlogger. Okay, this is vlog number 2. We're stuck inside today because it's raining. But all our washing's being put away. Violet didn't help. And while I work, another kid's asleep. And I get her to watch terrible shows with dolls on a TV show. And the cat's just playing in here too. Now, Violet, you need to be quiet, okay? Because I need to do something. We made some muffins. And now I'm vlogging. So with my vlog number 2, suppose we're going to talk about how a culture is from, an inclusion culture is from the principal down. They need to set the standard, but the whole school needs to be on board. I've seen some great examples of that at schools where inclusion is everywhere. In one of the placements I went to, a grade 2 class had a girl who needed to walk on crutches, and the grade 2 classroom was actually upstairs. So at the start of the year, they moved the whole grade 2 down to the front of the school, so that she could have access to the classroom more readable. And the AITSL standards, most of them are linked to inclusion, especially the first couple, and they promote inclusiveness. Although there's still a long way to go, the changing attitudes and disability have led to changes in education. I suppose it's part of a broader social justice movement. People with disabilities want to make decisions about their future and their education and the families. And this has been sort of supported by legislations within Australia and the world. Parents, students and policy makers have all supported that anyone that can attend their neighbourhood school. So we, as teachers, we can expect these classes, our classes, to have students with diverse needs. The classroom needs to adapt and reflect this with our methods and approaches. And as I've mentioned, my main philosophy, I suppose, is that as new teachers coming through, we need to ingrain this and stand up for it. But on my site, you can see it's a worldwide movement of inclusiveness, and you know, as I was saying in my first blog, 30, 40 years ago, it was just thought that students were unteachable. They were incapable to learn, so they were excluded. They were just get down, get down. Where was I up to? Yeah, just referring back to my experiences of 30, 40 years ago. When I was at school, and the students, I think after they left grade 6, who were the ones who needed the most or more assistance. Violet, stop it. Right, I'm going to get angry. They're the ones that, and they just left school. That was the end of them, as far as I'm aware. With the future of inclusion, I suppose there's 2 main issues that will continue to impact on the education of students with additional needs. It's the one view is that people with disabilities will always have more opportunities when they leave the restrictions of segregated settings and educated in local communities. Opposing view is removing students from more sheltered environments and special schools leaves them over to, I suppose, isolation, bullying, stigmatism, and won't necessarily improve their learning. But the evidence that better outcomes for students with all types of learning difficulties result when there is, this is part of when you start of the year, it's a careful planning of the goals and programs of the student, individualisation instructions, appropriate and prompt feedback, and ongoing monitoring and evaluating the learner to further planning. there's a lot of technology and computer-assisted instructions would help in inclusion, and I've seen that in classrooms, and it also helps other type of learners. It's you're considering everybody in your classroom. I suppose, regardless of the level of ability or disability of whatever their additional needs may be, as I said, the AITSL standards require that proficient teachers, and the main one is establish and implement inclusive and positive interactions to engage and support all students in classroom activities. And this is now the standard expected of all teachers. Okay, so I'm going to enjoy my muffin. Press.